Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, good evening, across the continents of the world. Today is African Day. 60 years ago, our founding fathers of the African continent sat down and came up with an idea of the formation of Organization of African Unity. After colonial rule came to an end, Africa decided to forge forward with a message of unity, unity of purpose, unity to bring about development, democracy, unity to adhere to the rule of law, and a unity to make a better Africa. Unity to bring social status, equality in services, equitable distribution of resources amongst the citizens of these newly independent states and those that were under the colonial rule. Ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate 60 years today, we remember what we have gone through. But what we have gone through must teach us how we can go forward, and must teach us how we can resolve the current situation. What kills Africa today is the failure to see the history that brought us to where we are today. Is the failure to recognize the challenges, the obstacles that we have, that these obstacles that we got after independence, throughout military juntas, throughout the dark ages of the Cold War, where America or the West was fighting the East. We seem to be going back in these 60 years again. We have a period where we've gone back. We have destroyed the same tenets that would have made Africa better. Military coups, violence, conflicts, human rights abuses, bad elections, all these have come to hit Africa. Hunger, famine, drought, floods. We have plenty in Africa. When it rains, everybody cries of floods. When it is drought, or when it is dry season, everybody cries of drought. What can we do to harness what God has given us as Africans? What can we do to change the habits that have brought us to where we are today? As we look into the history and we look into the future and we look at what we are doing today, do we have leaders who can think of the generation, not leaders who are thinking of elections? It is sad that in most states in Africa, leaders think of elections, of winning elections, but not of the future generation. Isn't it time for us and for our leaders? Because leadership is God-given. Leadership is from God. Isn't it time for us to sit down and sit back and look at what we can do for the future generation? What shall we leave as a legacy? It brings me therefore to the question of African Union. What type of African Union would you like to see? What type of African Union would you like to leave for the generations to come? An African Union that takes decisions, that stops wars, that stops military coups. An African Union that preaches peace. An African Union that preaches economic emancipation. Emancipation economically is what has caught us in a catch-22 as we strive to make a better Africa. Of course, the colonial hangover that runs around Africa, that hovers over our countries, where people have not let us go, especially in the French-speaking countries, where military coups are occurring on almost 6 months or 3 months in West Africa. Another one coming, strifes coming, a conflict coming between generals in Sudan. Libya is gone, killed by the French because they wanted the resources. They are busy taking the resources out of Africa without anybody. Surely, is this the Africa that African Union can supervise? African Union Commission needs to pull out its socks. The chairperson of African Union Commission, Dr. Moussa Mahamat Faki, my friend, you have not given us any hope. You have not given us any light. No 2060, 2030. An African passport is on paper. An African Court of Justice cannot sentence even one person. We are looking at International Criminal Court, a court that is already corrupted, a court that is already politically witch-hunted, and witch-hunting Africans is what we are looking at today. We are looking at our former colonial masters who are even saying, you told us to leave. Why are you calling us? Because you have not moved. We have not put in institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, we have not put in institutions that can propel us from the past, the present, to the future generation. What Africa shall we leave for our people? Today is a great day, 25th May 2023. I would like to hear 20 years to come, an Africa that goes to the moon, an Africa that harnesses, that has roads like in London, an Africa that has roads like Paris, an Africa that has roads like Washington or New York or China or Russia. We should not be thinking of an Africa which gives out resources, but an Africa, you give out resources, you pump out your resources, but the people at home where the resources come from, where they are seated on the resources, are poor and poorer. The conflicts in Somalia, in Libya, in Congo, in Sudan, and other parts of East Africa must come to an end. If we have the will to do so, we must be honest and tell each other, time has come for these conflicts to come to an end. Why would you, generals of Sudan, pick the guns and dismantle the whole Khartoum upside down? What type of fight? Even if you are looking for power, why are you taking us back to the 16th century? Why do you pound a whole city, yet you need this city tomorrow for meetings? Yet you need this city tomorrow for tourists? Yet you need this city tomorrow for your internet to be placed? You need shopping malls. Why are you destroying hospitals? Time has come for us to rethink, to sit back and say, the 60 years of Africa, what have we achieved? We have moved forward, come backwards, gone forward. the more we move, the more we remain in the same position. Are we going to do a Chinese style? 40 years ago, China was the poorest country. But today, China supplies us with almost everything, including the money that we use in our hospitals and other places, bridges, roads. How did they do it? They went back, reformed their systems, and the systems started production. Are we ready to reform our systems? Are we ready to have a free and a fair distribution of resources? Are we ready to have a free and a fair elections? Are we ready to concede where elections are being held freely, candidly, and they say, okay, I wait for 5 years? Are you waiting for 5 years, or you are waiting for more destruction? I have seen across the continent of Africa, every time you speak about Africa, what comes in mind? Elections. But do people of Africa know what elections are? Do they confuse elections with democracy? Does democracy mean, elections mean democracy? You can hold even 2,000 elections when there is no democracy. Can we go back to the drawing board? What is the root cause of our misery? I thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. With those few words, I wish you a happy Africa Day. Celebrate it together with me. And let God rise up, all of us. Rise, Africa. We shall rise and shine again. Thank you. In Nairobi, good morning in London.
Very well, thank you so much. And the world's most powerful nations are once again competing for the control of the abundant natural resources of the African continent. Some say and describe this phenomenon as a new scramble for Africa, in reference to the first scramble for Africa, which took place between 1881 and 1914 and resulted in powerful European nations dividing, occupying, and colonizing the continent. Superpowers like the US, China, and Russia, as well as some key European countries and less powerful nations like Japan, India, and Brazil, are currently active in Africa. Some energy-rich Gulf countries are also racing to consolidate their investments on the continent as they seek to expand their economies beyond oil and gas sectors. Foreign military presence is also growing on the continent under the gaze of counter-terrorism efforts. Djibouti has agreed to host American naval and drone bases that conduct operations in the Horn of Africa and beyond. Many other nations have also established military bases in the country, including France, the former colonial power, Italy, and Japan. The French military base in Djibouti is hosting troops from Germany and Spain. On the other hand, some of the parties to the GCC crisis, such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, have established military bases in Eritrea, Somaliland, while Somalia is hosting Turkish troops. Furthermore, the U.S. has been increasingly involved in the fight 63 under the leadership of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the former chairperson of the African Union Commission. But this agenda does not include a clear and coherent strategy on increasing foreign presence and competition in Africa. And furthermore, African leaders seem to lack the necessary political will to counter these efforts and protect the continent's vital interest. And that's where we start our conversation this afternoon, Doc. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that brief introduction. I think I have removed my glasses so that I can go for this topic very vigorously and without any reservations. From 1884, we have had Africa under the hammer. Bismarck in Berlin decided to take Africa to pieces and separate it from each neighborhood to neighborhood. Tribe cut in the middle. One tribe the other side, one tribe the other side, the other border. This indeed was a well-planned, orchestrated design to make sure that they keep Africa a divided continent, a divided world without unity or purpose. The divide and rule tactic that was used in the scramble, the partitioning of Africa in that time, has never ceased. River Nile was already there. Who discovered Lake Victoria? It was already there. It existed. Why is it that Lake Victoria was named Lake Victoria when we in Uganda know it as Lake Narubale? That's the real name of Lake Victoria. I don't know what people in Siaya call it. You have your name?
Isango.
Yes.
That is Lake Isango.
Isango. In Uganda, we call it Lake Narubale. We looked at that lake as our basis. The tribes around that region looked at it as a source of wisdom, that you don't touch the lake. Who has made the lake? There is a god there called Narubale. Because it was, Narubale means the stone, a stone that never goes down, never disintegrates, never breaks. Strong Narubale. So we kept ourselves very focused on our indigenous situation, forgetting that our friends were coming to take pictures, Dr. Livingstone and Speak and Grant and Lugard and the rest of all these guys were taking pictures to go back and say, the Royal Geographical Club, believe me or not, I am a member of Chatham House, which is part of, luckily enough, Chatham House, we only do politics. Very good research papers in political science. We forecast what type of coup will be coming in Venezuela, Colombia, Malaysia, Myanmar. Those boys, the generals, the 5 generals in Myanmar, they take power when they are 5. So they control the nation in turns. You know, that's the analysis we do in the Chatham House. But can I tell you, there is a geographical club which studies only Africa. And if you go in, there is even a full house, a full building, only Africa. I'm telling you. It created a division. Is that division, Miriam, today, the same divisions? Is it the same? Is it holding? There was a fundamental change that from 1884, Africa became partitioned, new states were brought up, colonized, administered, given ideologies. The French brought assimilation. The British gave us English, which we are speaking today, and taught us how to go to school, how to create, defend ourselves, how to grow crops, which type of crops were needed for manufacture of cloth in Manchester United, in Manchester City, where Mr. Wanda should visit one day, God willing. So if you go to Manchester City, you find all the factories of cotton, which could have been, you know, manufactured cloth in Naiti in Uganda for the sake of my country. But because they needed that cotton, they needed that product, they took that cotton on the sea up to the water. The railway was working. 1900, the railway was in Kisumu, 01. 1934, the railway was already, around 1914, the railway was already in copper mines in Kilembe. And that you could run the train. You know, the train could run all the way from Kilembe. Unstopped, there was no banditry, there were no thieves. These thieves here who have just come off late, are the Jangiris of today. There were no thieves taking that train from, you remember, the only thieves that were there, the Safo, money eaters, the lions. If they jumped in, they would eat you. But there were no people breaking into the trains. They took the cotton, they took the coffee, they took the copper, they took everything. So here we are. Today, as I take a breath, landed my mind, are we having a new scramble? Or we are simply changing the old guards to the new guards with fundamental difficulties? We have countries, let me mention, as I land, Libya. Who is manning Libya today? The Ottoman Empire, Turkey. Turkey mans, Turkey, Italy, UN, Britain are on the side of Tripoli in Libya. While France, Russia, you can imagine, even Russia now, France, Russia, Egypt, UAE, Qatar, all of these are on the side of General Khalifa Haftar, Benghazi. And it is still a divide, it is still a scramble, because Benghazi Libyans don't like the Tripoli Libyans. The Benghazi are not the Sunnis. The Sunnis are the ones down on the other side. You see, the Tripoli guys, where Gaddafi came from. That's why there was a kingdom, and Gaddafi found it very difficult. And he overthrew King Idris. Idris is a Benghazi operative. He needed that time. And from that day, Libya was put under a very good hammer. We got what we wanted. We made Libya a great country. Later on, Muammar Gaddafi was killed. Look at the countries that are stationed in Libya today. France is on the side. France, Russia, and many other Western countries are drilling this oil. They have taken over, they have divided. I want us, at the end of this subject, where is the problem of Africa? Where is the problem of Africa? Miriam, where is it? Let me give you another country. Democratic Republic of Congo. Democratic Republic of Congo has changed hands from Belgium, France. Now you don't know who manages it. When you look at the government of Kabila, they had a very bad relationship with France. Later on, Tshisekedi comes in power. He begins to do very good things for the sake of the French. Somewhere the relationship soured because of African Union. Do you remember African Union writing a letter? Can you Google that letter? Jeff, can Jeff Google that letter? Where African Union wrote to everybody after Tshisekedi winning elections that we should never go to Congo to witness that election. The swearing-in ceremony. Can you tell me the president in Africa, how many people went? It was only Uhuru Kenyatta, the former president of Kenya, and the deputy president of Zimbabwe, Chiwenga. Why? And yet the AU itself had sent their peace observers, election observers and the monitors who came and said election was free and fair. Now, Miriam, tell me, if we are not mad, if we are not bewitched, what should AU tell us when it spends all our money to go and observe an election? Then it says it was not free and fair. Don't go and witness the swearing-in ceremony in DRC Congo. So Congo has remained in the hands of Tshisekedi. I don't think Tshisekedi has sat in an office and enjoyed the powers with his family. Since he took over, Miriam, it has been a whole problem, a problem after problem, problem after problem. Tshisekedi is one of, as soon as he took over, he became the chairman of AU again. The same AU that had rejected him now gave him a portfolio as the chairperson. He took up the mantle. A few days while he was there, a coup arrangement had been made for his removal. He flew back to Kinshasa. Now, if you look at what he has done, because he has fallen out with the masters. Who are the masters? Who are manipulating this whole exercise in Congo? You know them. Tshisekedi has chosen to go and bring Wagner, Russian mercenaries. Why do you bring Russian mercenaries when you have East African Stabilization Force composed of East African fellow states? Do you have confidence in them? No. Do you? I think the answer you Kenyans will give me, and anybody can see that if a man is hiring mercenaries, paying more money than investing in the same force so that we get more equipment and which knows the terrain, you are bringing in mercenaries. Qatar and France have now taken over the role of Congo. Kagame is in a limbo. Museveni is in a limbo. His deal has been cancelled. They cancelled his deal with the oil industry. He cancelled it. Now something else again has happened. I think I don't know what has happened, Miriam. Again, there's a problem. The company that was supposed to take over has difficulties. It is in a limbo. In Tanzania, there is a limbo. The good thing with Tanzania is that they stuck on the Chinese. And they said, for us, we die with you. You do our part. Tanga to Mwanza, do it. In fact, if you go there, Miriam, the type of development that has taken place in Tanga is great, very great. It will be one of the best ports on the East African coast, delivering the oil industry, the refineries, storages. They are big. Tanga was not that type of town. Now it is the real town, the city that you can see. So if you come back to Mozambique, as I landed the mind, look at Mozambique. Total Oil Energies signed an agreement, now handing over to Qatar. And we have been complaining here, and I've been telling you that Qatar, wherever you see Total Oil, you will see Qatar. So how did the people end up dying in Cape Delgado? Some of them being leached, roasted, like a meat that you are going to eat. These are questions that are raising quite a lot of temperature on Africa. Is Africa being scrambled upon? The current scramble was mercantile capitalism. The previous scramble, the current scramble is commercial scramble. One wonders why a country without human rights record would like to mediate for peace in a continent 700 kilometers away, 7,000 kilometers away from their territory. What are the intentions? And one wonders why it is only Qatar all the time having links with terrorists, Taliban, Al-Shabaab, Chad. Have you seen that, Miriam? They are now in Egypt paying some terrorists to come for a meeting. Now they went and paid, they told Kagame and his friend, come for a meeting. What is the problem here? How do they find the links which normal intelligence systems don't find? If they have that information of key leaders, of terrorists, why can't Qatar surrender this information to the intelligence systems in Kenya, in East Africa, so that we go for them. So do we have real partners here, or we have a problem? I land my mic by saying we are being scrambled on again. And earlier, or before I land the mic, agriculture. We are calling investors to come and buy our land, to come and destroy our forests, to come and build industrial parks, to destroy and build industrial parks. But we are not encouraging our younger generation that farming is one of the best occupations. If you go to Britain, small as it is, you find a younger man, he's taken up, hired a farm, leads the farm, and he has animals there. I'm telling you, Elvis, he has animals, he's feeding them. I have 4 Zimbabwean friends who deliver me fresh food from the farms in London. They have gone into farming. The eggs are produced, they are there. The milk is there. They are even manufacturing yogurts, which are exported back again to Zimbabwe. A product, and you are happy. We have Kenyan. There is a Kenyan who has a farm. I think Ugandans, we haven't gone into it much. Some of us went into nightclubs because that was the only thing that was easy that time. The money that I could grab of 12,800 pounds, which I got, I borrowed it from a Shiloh who gave me and said, but every week you have to pay this much. I don't want it tomorrow, even if you get it cash. Even if you work in the club and get it cash, all of it, don't bring it to me until the 6 months. Have you seen that? And I worked so hard, Miriam. I paid back the loan. I got that my club. It worked for 2 to 3 years. I sold it for 18,000 pounds. That was a very good, a good markup, which managed for me to pay my school fees, so many things for my children, and that I was okay. So when you look at that, I didn't go to farming. I wish I'd gone to farming, because I wish at that time I could have spared 20,000 and I went to sit as a farmer. But I did not have encouragement of anybody. If I had maybe somebody like a Wanda to push me, or Miriam to push me, let's do farming. I was on my own and I wouldn't. I just said, what can I do? I could have done farming, I could have been very useful. So in Britain, they encourage you to go for farming. If you have studied agriculture, you go for farming. And you get employment, which employs many, many others. But in Africa, are we encouraging anybody going to farm? If you find a farmer who has got 5 master's degree, and then you ask him, interviewing him, how many degrees do you have? 5. What are you doing here? And those are the questions the journalists ask. They discourage you. So I landed the mic, Miriam.
Right. Very well. And Doc, you raised very critical questions there in your presentation. And that meeting that was happening on the Summit on Food Security, the facts there is 2/3 of the world's arable land that is uncultivated is in Africa. 2/3 of the world's arable land that is uncultivated is in this continent. And we're still here talking about food security and food aid and all these things. I think the leaders you have in this continent are jokers. And until they stop joking and they take their positions very seriously, it's a problem that we're having here. And a couple of other issues that you brought up, of course, giving examples in Libya, DRC, and what you've been seeing playing out lately. So I'll start with Wanda Owesonga of what the submission Dr. Matanga has put up there. Are we back to the second scramble for Africa with what you've been seeing playing out in this continent?
In fact, when I was keenly following through the history as Dr. Masanga was presenting it bit by bit.
All right, I can take it. I come back to you in a minute. Let sort that out. Let Daniel perhaps take the question one. I'll come back to you. Understand that, Daniel, if you can hear me.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, I agree 100% that we have a second scramble for the African continent. And I remember some time back I said, when you look the way the demographical partitioning of the world, we have the first world, second world, and the third world. And the first world is in America and the West. The second world mostly is in China and the Middle East and the Southeast Asia. And the third world now is Africa. But when you look at these worlds in terms of resources, you realize that the first and the second worlds have been able to exhaust most of their resources. And where there's opportunity now is only the third world, which is actually Africa. And that is why you see most of investors, most of mining companies, most of people who are looking for startups, even in technological field, they all troop to Africa. And therefore, Africa has become a continent of interest in terms of natural resources, human resource, and also in terms of global partnership in even security, counterterrorism, and all the other spheres that are quite vital to the developed economies. And therefore, Miriam, that is why we are seeing that most of these Western countries are coming into Africa, and for them to be able to get an edge in this continent, you realize that they form factions that are able to fight with other superpowers like China, and in doing so, it really puts the African people in a state of jeopardy, where we become, like pawns in the game of chess against one another. And in amidst this chaos, we have the competing interests of these world superpowers. But the greater implication of this is that we actually, in most cases, disintegrate into crisis in terms of wars, in terms of other leadership conflicts and all that. And you realize that now we as a people, we do not benefit from these power games that are played by the international players. And whenever you see crisis in Africa, you'll be pretty sure that soon after, you realize that the resource, a certain resource, is actually at the center of it. We've seen that in DRC Congo. We've seen that Dr. Matsanga has talked about Cabo Delgado. We see that in the Sahel region, where the Wagner Group is from Russia. And therefore, Miriam, we have Western countries and the Middle Eastern countries and the Southeast Asian countries struggling for power, for hegemony across all of Africa. And therefore, this really puts the rest of the continent into a state of quagmire, which do not in any way benefit the African people. Rather, it benefits the strongest amongst these countries willing to take control of the African continent. I submit.
All right, thank you. Wanda, I believe if you're able to talk now.
Yeah, at least I can talk. I'm sorry about
it's okay.
What happened. I was keenly following through the history as Dr. Masanga was tabling it bit by bit, with him explaining the name change of Lake Victoria, then Alubale, the Lake Sango, all these, then adopting a name, then it is now a name that you are teaching the generations and the generations to come. And from it, and what is happening in Africa today, when you look at that history of Africa, it is a history of a continent that lost direction, that started living other person's life. That you'll be surprised that today we will teach kids not about Lake Nalubale, Lake Sango, or whatever, but we'll teach them about Lake Victoria. You'll be shocked that we'll teach kids, not these African that passed, Mount Kenya or Mount Kilimanjaro, but we'll start talking about Joseph Thompson, or we'll start talking about Johannes Redman. Then we'll amplify that and not about the Africans. You'll be shocked that we don't teach our kids about African agriculture, but we will teach our kids about the agriculture in Mesopotamia. And therefore, these are persons who knows not where they are coming from, or they lost their history, and they are wandering somewhere. And therefore, what the rest of the world is doing, they only come in and plant whatever they want. The Qatarans have been too late to learn that, but they have finally learned that Africa knows not their culture, their history, or anything else, but instead they live other person's life. That not unless, as a people, we get to a point and go back to the drawing board, we go back to our history, we search ourselves and know this is where we came from, this is what we were good at, and this what was introduced that we feel like is not okay. Then we'll keep losing it. Like the same history. When you go into to that history before 1884, during the time when we had the Imperial British East African companies, the same company being in South Africa, in East Africa, having companies like German East Africa Company. Those guys decided to divide African regions in terms of Africa's potential. Then they could easily get what we had, transfer it to their industries. Then they used to bring us the final products, to which we were as well forced to buy or to purchase. Now look at what is happening today. We'll easily let go of cobalt and other minerals that we have in Africa. They'll go use them, and we'll struggle into these shops, buying these laptops, these phones, and we will even compete on who bought the most expensive one. And therefore, as a people, the rain that is beating us is because we lost track somewhere. Then it becomes very bad that the leaders that are supposed to lead the flock in the right direction, they have decided to sing to the tune of whoever decided to move us away from the track. And therefore, I feel like the problems that we are having is majorly on grounds that we lost direction, then we accepted without knowing that we lost direction. That we go ahead and teach other person's culture to our kids. Then we expect these kids to grow and take care of the continent. If I'm told we really are sincere and really mean business, then we should start by teaching them their history, by helping them know where they came from, helping them know what they are good at. But if we keep on doing things the way we are doing, then this new scrambling that we are seeing is simply a proper version, an improved version of what we had or what our ancestors had. And if what our ancestors had is still making, we are still feeling the pinch, the pressure from it, then I'm trying to imagine the new version of scrambling. Therefore, this is a new version that is coming in that is more advanced. One that chances are we will not be able to unhook ourselves from it. That this is a version that is coming in when my brother Esonga is learned, when my sister Miriam is learned, when we're having Dr. Masanga, doctor. But because they are coming in when we are now an enlightened group, then it will be a version that will be so hard for us to unhook ourselves from it. It is unless we put our feet on ground and start doing things the right way. But if we give room and chance that indeed the new scrambling takes shape, and the new scrambling materializes, it blossoms, then chances are the generations and generations to come will now live the Hamanite theory that an African was born to serve. The racial superiority will now take shape unless something is done. Miriam.
Thank you so much, Wanda, for that submission. The enlightened group. But if we don't even know our history, because you've just, when you were talking, you just jogged my mind there. You look at the history that is being taught in our schools. Not much is being said about us before the colonialist came. So that seems to have been rubbed off, and now we just pick our story from when the white people and the slave masters came, and that's where we start our history, which I think is very, 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 very sad. And this could have contributed to the identity crisis that we have today. And of course, the history we even learn in our schools is very Eurocentric, is very Western centric, has very little to do with us as a people, and so we don't get to know who we are. Apart from a few, you trace this community, you trace your roots back to this and that, but that's just about it. They don't tell us what was happening before this the colonialists came. So that explains a lot in how we were socialized after that, and maybe how we view ourselves and our worth, because now we compare. Our worth is normally based on what is the standard of the Western world, and then we see how we rate there. So this created this dependency. There's a theory called dependency theory, and usually it is, they created a system in a way that we have to depend on the West. That was something that was created purposely. So even as we look at the inequalities, the third world, and of course that came out after the Second World War, and the third world was meant to mean the non-allied movement, but it turns out now it became something else totally different, the third world, and now we're here, the third world and the developing world. And so it's critical, the corruption of our history. Now that I think about it, while you were talking, and also when Dr. Matanga was making this submission, I think has played a huge role in conditioning us to accepting some of these things that we have accepted. Because as we sit here and talk and see how all these powers are coming into this continent, taking advantage of us, and then you wonder, do our leadership see this differently, or can they see this is a problem? Can they see having these mercenary groups in the continent is a problem? Can they see Qatar coming in and this interest it's having in France and the US and China and all these countries? Can they see these people are just out here to benefit themselves and has nothing to do with us? And you wonder, can't they see that? What is it that we're able to sit here and look at and talk about every day, but our leaders and the kind of decisions that they're making have really nothing to do with the benefiting of the black race, of the African people? And you wonder, what is the disconnect? It is the conditioning. So very interesting points that you've raised. Doc?
You see, what you are bringing up is exactly the real problem.
Yes.
And nobody's addressing it. First of all, we come from an inferiority complex ourselves. You have been elected by 93 million people. The first trip you make is United States of America, London, to seek legitimacy. Surely? It comes back to what I told you. If I become a person on African continent, for you to get a Ugandan visa, you will pay me 500 shillings per visa, dollars, 500, even more. I will keep my Maction Falls with more animals growing up and producing more. I keep my Renzol gorillas, they produce more in joy. They are not going to die. The River Nile is still there, it is booming, the electricity is coming, some is coming to Kenya. We are lucky. Have you seen how some of us in East Africa are very lucky. Electricity in South Africa is like gold. You can be on a live station in South Africa and the power goes out. So a big economy in South Africa, called South Africa, has no power. And we are buying more generators like Nigerians. The good thing with us in East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, power in Kenya has reached the last mile. In Uganda, it's almost everywhere. Even my own mother's house now, switch Kakia is watching me. She is with Mulika Mwizi, if it has anything. Yeah, they are watching right now. There's power there. The line has passed. But in South Africa, you sit in a restaurant, you are eating very well, enjoying, beginning to feel the feel of the nature, Africa, power. So, if you look at Kenyans, how many Kenyans now who were given a free visa, you used to cry you want to go to South Africa. Why are you not going? Why? If you look at South African airline, Kenya Airways going to Johannesburg, some of the seats are empty. There's no full flight. Now you have been given the permission to go for free. Kenya Airways is doing more advertisements. Wonder, to come the flight, they are reducing even the fare. But hakuna Mkenya anaenda huko, anasikia story hizi za xenophobia, anasikia story ya blackout. There is some word called what? Shed loading.
Load shed.
This is the word even on South African television. 4, 5, 6 shed loading. Then now, from there the anger begins. Instead of the anger looking at the government, they look at Matanga and Rwanda and the Zimbabweans who are there. They said they are the ones who have stolen the electricity. Hey, and they killed them. This is happening in life. They are killing. They are taking people out of hospitals. Miriam, this is the Africa you have. I don't think the Kenya government is as cruel as South African government that it goes to hospital to look for a Zimbabwean. If you are speaking Shona or Ndebele, get out of the hospital. Where do you go? You are sick. The wound is leaking. It is going to kill you tomorrow. Is it the Africa that we want? A scramble for Africa has come. Look at the 3 envoys who went to South Africa. Russia, European Union, then America.
And the Chinese also did that, foreign affairs.
Eh?
The Chinese foreign affairs, the new foreign affairs minister, I don't know if he went to South Africa, but I think it was.
He's also there. So look at the diplomacy. Why is it? It's a scramble. A scramble for a fresh scramble for Africa. All of them in one place. And I look at the speeches they made. The European Union speech was a threat, threatening South Africa. That if you go closer to those, we shall hammer you sanctions.
Because South Africa was going to carry out military drills with
Yes,
Russia and China.
that if those things violate this, that we shall have sanctions. America went blank and said, no, we don't want you to be there. We don't want you to go there because you are our partner. We don't want you to go that side. Russia said, you are welcome. We can deliver even free oil for this, sort out this mess of power. There's no power blackout in Moscow. Is there blackout in Moscow? You call it underdeveloped, but is there blackout in Moscow? Has Moscow got falls in Orange River?
But Moscow is not underdeveloped. It's developed
No, that is some people in the West call it underdeveloped. That's because it doesn't have the, hey, I don't want to say those words. Let's keep it that way. So one of the things that kills Africa, to me, Miriam, is we seek legitimacy. As soon as a leader is elected on the continent, the first flight is not African Union. The first flight is London or America. If I were a leader, my first flight will be India. Because Indians don't call and call more. Indians, when they come with goodies and they work very hard. I was reading a story of an Indian boy who goes to Jakat. Is it called?
Jomo Kenyatta University of Science and Technology.
I don't know these things.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Jomo Kenyatta University of Science and Technology.
Kenyatta University
Jomo
of Science and Technology.
Yes, JKUAT.
JKUAT, yes. I was reading a story from a friend of mine, a lady, who said that's the truth. A black man, a black student in that university who does the same subject, who goes to that university, and an Indian student who goes to that university, both of them, during recess, they do different things. The Indian comes to look after the shop in Kirinyaga Street. The African is asking you to take him to Mombasa. Daddy, I want to go for a holiday in Mombasa. A holiday where? Mombasa. But the Indian is reading the books and at the same time managing the father's. In fact, it tells the father, you can go for your holiday. I will manage the shop. The African does not. Miriam, all these children that we are growing up today, none of them will tell you, I want to sit down and write for you. I'm lucky that my daughter, my last born, and all of them, they used to help me on some of the things. I say, I've written my essay, check the English. Check my English. Then she said, how much? Eh? This one is in London. So we have, no, honestly, this is the generation we have today. This is my daughter. She said, Dad, yes, thank you very much, but time, I'm a lawyer. She's saying, looking at, I'm now a lawyer, time, I'll check, how much? Voila. So the best thing I have done is to put her on salary. Monthly. Let her get it. If it doesn't do anything for me, it's better to keep yourself safe. But you can see the generation of an African and the generation of Britain. Luckily enough, she is well conversed with Britain. All of them are conversed with UK. You know, what happens in the UK, what is going on. They can find jobs. They have found their own jobs. They are working. They are earning their living. That's okay. But imagine the generation we have in Africa. Tell one person that I have got you a farm to go and now you have finished JKUAT. Is it JKUAT? JKUAT. I want to give you a farm in Moro. He said, Dad, what did you say? Why don't you hire somebody to be in that farm? Now, that's why we can't have food production in this country. We are creating people for white-collar jobs that don't exist. So where are we? We are gone. So as far as Africa is concerned, there are 3 tenets that have arrived on our continent, and I take them in this order. One, commercialization of Africa, African conflicts. African conflicts have been commercialized. You are peaceful, but the Qatar comes to tell you, what did you have?
So manufactured conflicts.
Yes, it's manufactured. Yeah, come on. I was coming to that. Now you have killed my second point. The manufactured conflict that creates a product called commercialized conflict. Now you manufacture a conflict in DRC Congo, in Goma, to tell the Congolese to hate Kenyatta, for example, because he went and spoke Swahili somewhere. Commercialize it. Then you come and say, you have manufactured a conflict there now. Then later on now, Qatar comes in and said, no, you people, we can quickly sort this out. So who is telling Qatar, Miriam, who is telling Qatar that go and call President Kagame and call Tshisekedi to Doha? Who? Maybe this expert, Mr. Wanda, and this one, and Wesonga, can you tell us? We still have good minutes here before we end. Maybe you'll help us. Yeah. So anybody checking the talent, I'm still waiting for my answer. Wanda, Elvis, who is telling Qatar to summon? Who is this one with a network in which is beyond the East African community, which has head of state noted that we shall establish an East African standby force, stabilization force. And now someone calls 2 presidents of East Africa to come to his home. Who is telling them? Try. Let me go to the Chikewe Songa first, as you think, as the Elvis. The Chikewe Songa, the investigative journalist. Can you tell us? You have been so quiet. Daniel, have you gone to sleep? It looks like.
You called him
Elvis,
cheeky.
let's try.
It's big cheeky, like you've called him. I don't know.
Yeah, he has been very cheeky this morning. I don't know why. I'm telling you, he's in Kisumu. That's why the network is not coming. Elvis, yes.
I look at the allies of Qatar, that what we are experiencing right now in Africa and the rest of the world is simply the geopolitical realignments, the geoeconomic realignments. And the friends of Qatar in this case, I believe that they are not too close to Russia, neither are they too close to China. Because Russia and China are now good friends. I not mention a specific nation because this is just an alleged, supposedly. But I'll only now go to the list of who are these allies of Qatar. But as I look at who are these allies of Qatar, I'll be so sure that chances are this person or this nation is not friends with a country like Russia. Therefore, I don't have a specific answer on who exactly is this nation. It is probably China, or it is probably not China. It could be USA. I don't know. But I just know this is a power from outside. And this power from outside is coming in because nations are now realigning themselves on who will this that I'll be able to do business with. And if from the East, Qatar is a replacement of China, then Qatar will be promoted, elevated, so that it will be able to negotiate or do business in future to try and compete with a country like China. But in this case, it is a supposedly. I'm only trying to think loudly. Dr. Masanga.
Yes. Okay, you tried. Let's go to Daniel. Are you back there?
Yes, Dr. Masanga. Sorry, my network was not quite stable. Now, I look at Qatar as an overambitious, Middle Eastern country, because when you look even in the Middle East, Qatar has been isolated by its neighbors. And this is because sometimes it oversteps on their sovereignty in that it funds very subversive activity in some of its neighbors. Look at where Yemen today is. Look at where Syria is. And one thing that doesn't come by surprise is that Qatar is actually involved in some of these crises that are in the Middle East. And to me, today, I think Qatar has been playing a very, very major role, even in the crisis that we are experiencing today in Africa, in major parts of Africa, the northern, most of the Sahel region, and some parts of South Africa. So I think, Dr. Masanga, to me, Qatar is a country that is so much hell-bent in getting into the leagues of America, France, and that is only not in a good way, but in a way that will be able to stabilize countries that it sets its focus in, and more so it's for its own individualistic benefit. So to me, I don't think it's a country that should be tolerated in Africa. In as much as we've seen in the past few months, even African leaders from West Africa, trying to cement their working relationship with Qatar. But the history of Qatar is similar to that of France, and that is why I agree with you strongly, and that is from your statement, saying that wherever you see Total Energy from France, you'll always see Qatar there as well. And I think they have some kind of symbiotic relationship where they share even their styles of getting dominance in certain regions in Africa and in the Middle East. And that is only through sabotage. I submit.
Miriam, thank you very much. Can you try? People, thank you very much. You have come closer, yet not too far. Not very far. Miriam, try.
Yeah, of course.
Someone is ordering Qatar.
We saw Qatar was the one that was mediating on behalf of, I was hosting the Taliban on behalf of the US and these other powers. So there during the negotiations, we saw how that happened, and Talibans are back in Afghanistan. And they've just realized that leading a country is really hectic because things are really going not so good as the international community abandoned, that country. So it is possible because, France has fallen out with what do you call it, Rwanda in recently, and we know they have interest, and Rwanda has been a very valuable partner for them. So there are possibility that could be they're using Qatar to try to bring these countries together, because as much as they want to pretend like they're falling out with Rwanda, they still need Rwanda to do some of their dirty work. So there could be a possibility that perhaps the US could be involved, or France, but these are just allegations. Not sure, but there could be possibilities.
Miriam, you hit the nail on the head. It is not allegations. Just, I want you to go to Mozambique. Open up Mozambique, Cape Delgado. Just Google it there. Mm-hmm. Find out which company has sold what to who. Mm-hmm. Total Energies has sold all its rights to Qatar. There is now friction between the South African land, a company called Land of South Africa, which also came in Cape Delgado to take some of the proceeds of the materials, of the wells, the hot gas, the oil ridges. There is a friction there. So the country, in short, all of you are very right. You should have just said it's France. France manufactures a problem, commercialize the conflict. Who is buying the diamonds from DRC Congo? Wacha tuambiane ukweli hapo. Who is buying the diamonds? Have you seen that company, Miriam? It is on Punchline Radio. You will see down there. They are buying. They have just sold all the shares to Qatar's company. And you remember Qatar created, there was a serious international indictment when Saudi Arabia said Qatar is the one that exported ISIS into Mozambique. How would a country without human rights record come to Africa, 7,000 kilometers away in Tungoma, to negotiate peace when East African community is negotiating with its troops? Ours is a matter of safeguarding the interests of the Kenyan troops that are in Congo. Because if this confusion comes of Qatar, the gold, the diamonds, the minerals, somewhere we lose our people. And now we can see mercenaries being brought in. Are they going to fight under the East African Stabilization Force? Has Congo also withdrawn from this arrangement? Has it nullified the agreements? Miriam, have you got it now? Still a problem?
Yeah, because the results are getting quite different, but I'm still looking. Go ahead.
So, so you look at all these things, they bring you not only anxiety, but they bring you a very big, it can bring you a lot of stress and depression.
I didn't even know that the BP, the British energy giant, was also there. I think this is an article from December, and it also has a stake there, the British liquefied natural gas. They also have they're also there. And of course, the American farm and others. So it appears it's a whole interest and these multinational companies that have interest there. But I'm trying to look for the story that you've shared. I don't
the companies that are in the Cape Delgado, any Spain, Total Energies,
France,
ExxonMobil Corporation,
the US,
Mitsui and the company, Empresa Nacional, the aggregate that is NH, Japan Oil Company, Natural Gas Oil India. So if you look at that and add Qatar, you can see the companies they are here. That now Total Oil, after the war is ended, after they paid, you remember they paid through they gave France. The European Union has no money. So Qatar now sponsored France to pay Mr. Kagame off for his soldiers, and then they have now sold all their properties to, yes. Just Google Total Energies Qatar deal, you'll see.
Even is it Thailand also? I can see their names there. It's a whole companies there. Anyway, okay. In January, the British government funded about 1.15 billion US dollars for a liquefied natural gas project in Mozambique. That was just a couple of days ago. And other countries, yeah.
Now you go Qatar Total Energy, the first company selected to partner with Qatar Energy. You see? You are seeing that? Just Google Total Oil and Energies. Total Energies, the first company with Qatar. Just Google that. You'll see. Everything is there. Total Energies Qatar. Look at that. There you are. I don't speak when I don't have facts. They have taken over what Nani used to have. Now, Total Energies Qatar. You see, they have formed a company, Total Energies Qatar. It supports the youth. It supports, it is rubbish. Supports the youth to kill us. You know? Look at the projects. It has come under that. And we are in chaos. So in short, manufactured conflict produces commercial conflict. And that commercial conflict, if you look at how much, who buys, for example, Miriam, if I may ask, who buys the diamonds from Ngoma? Recently, President Museveni found he has 12 million metric tons of gold.
In Uganda, as a miracle.
And then he asked the Ministry of Minerals, how much money do we have in this? They told him it's 600 billion. He said, only 600 billion? So then they told him, how much is the gold? 13 trillion shilling, Kenya dollars, a trillion shillings. So President Museveni said, you know what? It is impounded. It's not going anywhere. That why should we sell our gold for 600 billion when the person who did not even have gold and a certificate is going to get a royalty and take 13 trillion Kenya shilling, Uganda shillings, which is a lot of dollars. That's the situation. That's why conflicts in Africa continue to be there. There are companies that are in Qatar Stock Exchange that don't have even one gold mine of a toilet where there is gold has hidden in a toilet, perhaps. Mr. Wanda, if gold hides in a toilet, probably. One country in Africa doesn't even have one, but it is on stock exchange in Qatar selling evidence. Walai, Amu, walai. I found out all these things, and I wake up always at 4, and I am on these things. And the good thing with London, there is no information hidden. If you want the Chatham House, it will give you the document that you see. Yesterday, this company is grown up. It is a nation called so and so in Africa. It has no gold mines, but it has more money.
But it's not enough to put us out there in the map. But you know,
so there is gold in the game.
That's a place where they but it's not so much. You know, that's why it's not talked about. But I hear the people who
no, maybe because we have not Miriam, maybe because we have not done the survey, geological survey.
Yeah.
We have not done geological. Honestly, there could be more gold. You see where this lake is. People must have just feared to dig back further than that. I want to tell you something which is happening in your country, about the water. These tall buildings that are coming out are competing on water. The borehole, if you dig less, the other house will not have water. If you dig deeper than the other one, this other house, now everybody is going back to dig very soon. And you know, Nairobi is not a very good area where we should start drilling so much the way they are drilling. And you know, the city county councils are looking at you. You are giving certificate to drill. One day you might be drilling where all of us, God forbid, people are in the town. This is a place where water is a waterlogged. You can't do an underground railway. But here we are digging deep. Every building that is coming, Kampala, the same. Every building that is coming in Kampala now, you never know you are drawing in the Lake Victoria. You know, they have already started taking sand. Is it serious? So it's a commercialized conflict. Look at someone selling sand from Lake Victoria. Sand in bags, and it passes through your country up to Mombasa. Sandy. Chinese. So who is to blame? Are these the Chinese who are looking for the goods, or we Africans who are dredging the lake? A lake like Lake Victoria, whose sand has never been dredged for millions and the millions and the millions of. Now, who has discovered the usefulness of that sand, Miriam? They have done research. They came and collected samples. They know what is inside. And then Africans have gone for it. The way they are killing each other there on the beaches. Sure, you can't believe it. And so here we are. That is the Africa we have. Miriam, you have some words I can see them killing.
Yeah, because you've asked then. I think you asked also that question before. Who is to blame? For me, we always have ourselves to blame. Period. We are our own problem. We allow these things to happen. So,
me, the only thing that I would like, as we end this show, we would like to play a clip of one of Professor Pierre Lumumba for just a few minutes. My colleague. Play that clip of Pierre Lumumba. Cut it when I say stop, then Miriam will leave about 3 minutes. We close and go home. Listen to that speech of Pierre Lumumba.
The new scramble for Africa is a little bit more different. It is not, they will allow us to have our leaders. We'll elect our presidents. We'll elect our governors. We'll have our ministers. That will happen, but they are not bothered. After we have elected them, you'll then see them sending their arrows ahead. You'll see Bill Gates come and meet your president. You'll see Tony Blair come and meet your president. You'll see Macron come and meet your president. You'll see all of them. And then they will never admit, but they'll be told, if you want money in agriculture, behave this way. If you want money in this area, behave this way. They will never tell that to the Chinese. They will never tell that to the Indians. They will never tell that to the Vietnamese. They will never tell that to the Koreans, but in Africa, they tell us. That is why, as I speak to you now, under this new scramble, the IMF and the World Bank are back, telling you who to hire in your universities, what to sell and what not to sell. It is a sad situation. So today, as I look at Africa in that new scramble, the Chinese are here. I hope that this institution was not built by the Chinese. The Turks are here. The British are here. The French are here. The Qataris are here. The Americans are here. This time round, they are so subtle that we don't even recognize them, but they control us. What are we going to do about it in order to develop? We must do something. And if we don't do that thing else, you who have been trained in this institution, you have traveled the world. You have traveled Nigeria. There are two things that you can do with your traveling. You can marvel. Says it is great in China. You can marvel. You can wonder or feel.
Thank you very much, Miriam. It summarizes our speech, our program today. IMF is telling you who to hire, how many policemen you should have, how many army officials you should have, how many teachers you should have, how many meals you should eat per day. So is this a new scramble for Africa? Qatar, China, France, America, all of them have come back in another format. And given in the near future, the investors coming to Africa to buy our commodities, the land, invest to grow crops. They will grow more crops, overtake us, export these crops for the feeding of the families across, and we shall be importing from them manufactured goods to come down to our place before we survive. That's the Africa we are on. But the only blame that we should blame is we blame ourselves, as Miriam said, we blame the African Union. My life, my center, my life centers on African Union. And on that note, I'd like to ask Stephen to extract all the African Union documents, all of them in order, and work on them, send them to me in a good letter, organize them. We want to, the African Union Summit starts on 14th, on 15th, 16th, up to 17th. For this first time, I will be in Addis Ababa, and I will be launching a reformation axis. I will be in the capital city myself. So please, can you do that for me? I'll talk to you later on. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Punchline Africa Television, today Africa Watch. Africa Watch. We have watched Africa. We have warned you. Wonder your last word as you go to be hammered in a Shemeji Dabi.
No, tunachapa Miriam. My parting shots. Africa is a great continent, very powerful continent. But the sons and daughters of Africa, and especially those that went to school, and indeed they got an education, they got a tool to look at issues, analyze issues, and be able to tell what is good and what is not good. They should not let the continent destroy or the continent completely get lost. What is happening today in Africa is that the learned class of Africans have decided to compete with each other. They have introduced the very competition to the nations competing each other, and in so doing, Africa gets getting lost every single minute, every single day. Let us get together so that we'll be able to harness our potential. We'll be able to not just let go of what we have and allow others from outside get whatever we have. Then we end up being baptized as the beggars of the continent, the poorest continent in the world. Whereas in the reality, we are the richest continent in the world. I yield.
Thank you very much, Daniel Wesonga. As we wind up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David. And of course, my opinion has always been that Africa has been misused, has been abused, and disfranchised in every kind of manner since the pre-colonial period. Africa has fought in the world wars. Africa has been entangled in conflicts that do not concern the least of the African people's needs or maybe aspirations. But even today, in as much as we talk about the past, Africa is still tangled in these conflicts that do not really matter to the African people. Proxy wars that have deprived the continent of its development has taken a lot of time.
Okay. We have lost you again.
Developmental, yeah. And are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you so much. So to me, I think it is time Africa reawakens and it realizes that we are actually being used as pawns in this war between the West and the East, and therefore we should retract back and be able to talk about a future for Africa where Africans will be able to determine their own destiny. I submit.
Thank you very much. As I come to Miriam, all of you get a pen and a paper. Are you ready? Pen and a paper, please. I want to teach you something today, which is, Miriam, you got it? Something, and all the people in the studios in Nairobi, and all of you, to reach the age I have reached, this is what you should do. When you are tired, take a nap. When you are sad, dance Lingala or any music. Miriam doesn't like Lingala, but dance. Take it seriously, Miriam, and you will see how you will reach Matsanga's age. When you are stressed, walk. When you are angry, just exercise. Like this, box, box, box. When you are burnt out, get your book, books in my study room. in my house. I pick a book of CIA or Mossad or KGB or Russian or no, Cuban intelligence. I read all the history. When you are feeling lost, then come back to Almighty. Umepotea kwa forest, like Manchester United. Napotea kwa forest. When you are overthinking, because I see everybody. I hope you have written this Wanda Ellipse, especially. Wanda Ellipse and Daniel. Daniel, you are one of those who works very hard. Daniel, are you listening to me, my son? Daniel?
Yes, Doc, I'm getting you clearly.
When you are feeling lost, get a Bible. Always buy your Bible. Stay with it. Read Matthew chapter 10, verse 14. Very nice. Or go to St. Luke. It is the only book that is very exciting. Then if you are overthinking, start writing. Wanda, you're a writer, you are published, you're a publisher. Start writing. What time do you start writing? I start writing at 4 a.m. when Miriam, that time she is dreaming towards the Gaza Strip, the Gaza Strip, and the Mali, Bamako. You know, Miriam is an expert of Bamako. This is a West African state. Coup, military coup, another one coming. Nathanga is writing. Then the last thing, if you are anxious, meditate. Meditate. If you say, I am a wrong man, I didn't give you this advice, you try to see how everything, especially our boss there, General Manager, are you hearing me? All of you there, right in Nairobi, thank you very much. Look at those points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8 lifelines of a human being. You will produce, if you take a nap, you take music, you dance, you walk, you exercise, you read, you pray, you write, you meditate. You reach 68 years or beyond. I'm now 68. And when Mr. Wanda looks at me, says, baby face, you might think he's my brother. I've called him Dr. Mathanga. Daniel, Miriam, are you not amused that I know these things? Give me a credit, Mama, and wind up. You had a point parting shot for us on Africa. That is all I wanted to pass on to impact information. In fact, Miriam, what I would like you to do, type it in big letters and pin it. Pin it somewhere there. Some people bring you stress. Apple. Wanakuletea stress. Not you. Apple. Wanaleta stress. Pin it in big letters. Unamuona, unamwambia sasa wewe enda wake up. Pick the book. Go outside in the tree.
This is a stress-free environment.
You are defending the indefendable. But it is all right. God bless you. You would say you are parting short and Africa is under the scramble. Okay. It is being scrambled for a manufactured conflict that ends up to be a commercial conflict. Yeah. Commercialized, manufactured, then commercialized. And that's what Qatar is doing in Democratic Republic of Congo. Those who have ears, hear me. Those who don't have ears, continue to prick mine and call me the bad names, but read Matthew chapter 10, verse 14. That if you don't listen to what I've said, Jesus has commanded and said, just go away. But I can't go away when Africa. The Philippians chapter 4, verse 10 again, said, I'm writing this letter to my Philippians. You remember Paul's letter to the Philippians? That there is danger coming. You will be persecuted. Africa is on the hammer of persecution. Miriam, from my end, Charo.
Okay, thank you. I think from the points you've shared there, the one that I've really picked is take a nap. So I'm going to do that just now. Thank you so much.
No, but are they helping a bit?
Nap does wonders to me, so I agree with you on that.
Thank you very much.
And reading. So also
Wanda, you think this is correct?
No.
No, Wanda, from your expression in the face, there is anxiety. And this guy here has not opened up his window. I would see his face. You see, he's laughing because these things touch, they have touched. Don't be anxious. Then things will come in place. If it is money, think of it, pray, it will come. So that you can reach 68.
100%.
If you can see the money that Matanga touched hands and it is not there. But if you can see the number of friends who find me on the street and say, you see that guy there? What was his bill? In a restaurant, you sit like this. You want to go and pay the bill. Say, sir, Dr. The bill has been paid. You say, who paid? The guys who were here paid your bill. But if I tell you the amount of money I've ever handled that has gone in my hands, you will get not even an African sword, the Japanese sword, and a cutting. Eh? And one of the worst things that you don't do as people who are married, either side, don't discuss too much things of money with your partner. Either you're a man or a woman. I'm an editor now of the clan. Please avoid money issues in the home, especially the month of January. Avoid it. The suitcase will be on the Uber and one of them will be gone. Avoid it. Let it reach February again. When it comes to February about 10th, spare some money for buying the flower. Those you people who buy flowers like a Wanda and a Wesonga. For me, I don't buy flower. Miriam knows my category. I'm a very dangerous bad boy. I can't buy you flowers for the person who used to kill people in Italy. That you are celebrating Valentine's Day. No way. You will never get it from Dr. Masai. Thank you very much. Those who are wishing to waste money on the flowers, then the flowers from Naivasha go up to all the places in Europe. They need them. But me, if you want flowers, I'll go to the garden and pull the whole thing and bring it. It is stressful. It is good that this week, this month, next month, the Valentine's Day falls on Tuesday. Mungu asante sana. Because if it falls on Friday, tuko na shida, kazi imeisha. Wanataka kupanda ndege. I think we better bring back our social media, please. Now I think you've seen the job of our topics. If you look at that TV of News Central, Miriam, have you had a look at it? The type of topics that they have designed, they touch you as an African. And they thank me, Dr. Matanga, for having told them, change the format. That's why you see me all the time. I'm more or less a partner, but not a partner with money, but a partner in, they can't refuse me to be interviewed. They can't refuse my proposal. That's very good. And it is, do you know who owns it? A lady. Very tall madam from Nigeria. Very beautiful lady. She owns it. She started on, we should also start on this type of thing and go ahead from our own big enterprise that supports Africa. Our topics are now very crucial media. If you look at the Kenyan television, they are either, I don't know what they are showing now, a big tear gas or this, what, you know, there's not, no material is lost. You can't. So we better bring back some of these topics, like talking about how relationship is, how to control. Don't fight your wife. Don't fight your husband. Just walk away. Matsanga, if you start a fight, I get my kids and I go to the pub in London and I drink. Then those days when I used to drink, I get drunk. And then they call, they say, I can't drive the Range Rover back to the house. He says, you're stupid. Look at this stupid man. Okay, fine, but if I leave it here, they will steal and then all of us will suffer. Go, you come for it. Okay, we are coming. Where are you? Get out! Quickly understand that they can't. But that is, you have to look here, wind up giving you have solved a very big problem. Don't fight a wife. Don't fight a woman. They are deadly. Hata kama anakuwa mubamba namna hivi, dangerous. Nakwambia wewe, you don't walk away. Say, darling, it's okay. Thank you. Hey, look at this one, big stomach. Okay, fine. And these big legs. Okay. And that is, if this is not very good advice, thank you. Your husband, your wife, whatever it is, don't quarrel. Violence does not solve. And especially when you have children in the house, they watch. Say, why are you harassing mom? And you know, some of these children wait until you are alone, two of you. You have taken her to eat McDonald's outside. Said, but dad, excuse me, you and the mom, why do you always quarrel? And you have no words to answer. You see, but you see, I see you loud, you talk loud. So when your child reaches to tell you that, please, thank you very much. As an elite of Africa, I think those are some of the things that I can pass on. Whoever can get this clip is all right. This station, therefore, is for Africa with Africa by Africa. Child.
Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you.